Welcome back to Heber Valley Life podcast, where we celebrate the people, places, and programs shaping a stronger, more connected community. Today, we're talking about something deeply important, a movement called A Bolder Way Forward. This initiative was founded by Dr. Susan R. Madsen of Utah State University after years of research and societal impact work that revealed one undeniable truth. When we lift Utah girls and women, we lift all Utahns. A Bolder Way Forward, or BWF, is a statewide effort, and here in Wasatch County, it's growing through some dedicated grassroots campaigning. The goal is a long-term societal change, getting the message into every city, every neighborhood, and every home. I'm excited to learn more about the work that is being done locally, and I'm honored to welcome today's guest, someone I deeply admire, co-lead for the Wasatch County effort, Reggan Jastram. Reggan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first introduce yourself, your work, your family, what you do on a day-to-day.
Okay, so I born and raised in Utah. Fun fact, I'm from a very small town in southeastern Utah, Green River, 900 people. I've been in the Heber Valley almost 14 years, and I've been in real estate for 20 years. And in 2015 here in Heber, I opened a real estate brokerage. And I ran that for 7 years. And then in 2022, I was approached by Coldwell Banker, and they essentially acquired us and offered me a management position in their Park City office, which I took. And I did that for about 2 years. And then about a year and a half ago, I had to step back. Kids need you.
Places number one.
Kids, yeah, they need rides, they need places. I needed to be here in town on the daily. So currently, Coldwell's been very good to me. We kind of have an out-of-the-box arrangement where they've given me a little branch office to run my team out of here in Heber. So I'm just sort of back to running my real estate group here in Heber. And I have 2 kids, a 13-year-old Harper. She is a crazy little wicked athlete. She does competitive cheer. And then my son Jet is almost 12 and he does soccer and is a insanely good little fly fisher, which we live in the best place for it.
I love that. I didn't realize 14 years, so I've known you as long as you've lived here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. And I do know your daughters are rock stars, literally like rockets. She must have had that from her mom.
Maybe a little bit.
I love that. So last year I had the opportunity to attend a kickoff for A Bolder Way Forward at the Park City Hospital. And I don't think even then, maybe you were in that position. It was such an interesting kickoff meeting. A group of women, a couple of men. Let's talk about that initial kickoff and where you've taken this program.
Okay. So yes, I was involved then. Amy Tuddenham was a co-lead with me at the time.
Yeah.
She's since had to step back and Mayor Johnson has stepped in and is helping me. At that initial kickoff, we'd sort of decided that we would team with Summit County because we do have a lot of overlap in kind of our needs. We since stepped back from that just because we did find that as much as we have an overlap, we definitely have our own needs here in Wasatch County, but they are a great resource to us. Right. So that initial kickoff was Wasatch and Summit County combined. And it was really kind of just it was a large group of women, a couple of men. And it was just kind of great to hear what everybody's perceived needs are, because I think that's the thing that we have to understand is what the reality is and what the perceptions are very different as far as needs.
Well, and that meeting was really raw. There was a lot of emotion. There was some tension. Earlier, we talked about the couple men in the room. They even admitted, boy, we feel a little outnumbered.
Yeah, sure.
It was the first time that I met Diego, who is now going to be a Park City council member. So good job, Diego. But as women were kind of bold and talked about some of their perceptions and the realities, I myself said, look, I stepped down from politics because my daughter said, Mom, I need you at home. And even though I was passionate about my community and serving, my number one priority was her. Mm-hmm. And just like you said,
I stepped back from my role 2 years ago because I have to be here for my kids for the day-to-day.
So I think that this initiative is empowering, but it also allows women to be truthful. And our hope today is to even talk about how we need men to understand the positions that we're in so that we together can collaborate to really move this movement forward.
Correct. So I think the interesting thing from that meeting, if you remember, I believe we were talking about childcare, and was something like, if a child is sick, that typically falls on the mom to either stay home or figure out arrangements or take the child to work. And I mean, the room echoed with everyone agreeing that we've all been in that situation. And it was Diego that said, I've been in a lot of meetings with a lot of men, and we've never talked about anything like this. Like, that just isn't on their radar, because the women just step in and deal with it, and the men don't maybe even realize. So it's kind of a very powerful thing that Diego caught him about.
Yeah, and it's been interesting even preparing to talk to you today as I went back, because I haven't stayed involved. I did that initial kickoff, and I felt like there's other areas that I can focus on. And I'm grateful for you and Celeste Johnson for taking that role and bringing it back to the community, and then trying to figure out, okay, how do we assess the needs of Wasatch County? How do we put people in place that can help address some of these issues? One of the things that I found, even as a council member, we would receive the police reports. And I got to a point where I had to put those police reports away and read them when I was in the right mindset. And I'll tell you why. I was shocked and really saddened about the number of domestic violence that we have in Wasatch County, child abuse, sexual assaults. I wish that we didn't have those things. And it was staring me in the face to read those reports, those police reports, and knowing that our police officers and our sheriff's deputies were dealing with this on the daily. Mm-hmm. And so this was one of the things that I know a bolder way forward is trying to bring to the surface. Yes. Is we cannot turn a blind eye to what's happening next door.
No. So the statistics are 1 in 5 girls will be sexually abused. And 1 in 3 women will experience domestic abuse in their lifetime. However, 26% of Utahns believe that it's a problem. So that means 3/4 of our population in Utah does not believe that domestic abuse is a problem. So if the people don't believe it's a problem, they are not going to lend into fixing a problem they don't think exists.
And it's amazing. Just yesterday, I ran into a neighbor that we're friendly. He's a single guy. And I said, your house looks great. He'd done some remodels. We started talking about a neighbor of his that he's concerned that there could be some issues. And I thought, I need to knock on that door. I need to make sure that she knows that there's a resource in the neighborhood that she can go to if she needs to. I didn't know that was an issue until he said, yeah, I almost had to call 911. And I didn't because the male drove away and left her home. Doesn't mean it's over. It just means that for now, maybe it hasn't escalated. But as we were preparing for this, I thought, even in my own neighborhood, which I think everything's roses, it's not always the case. And we don't know unless we are willing to knock on that door and get involved.
Right. Someone told me not very long ago, I had a friend that was involved in a domestic violence situation, an ongoing years ago. And she went back. We got her out and she went back. And someone told me it usually takes 7 times before them leaving sticks.
And they also realize that there's a community to support them. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I love about this movement, A Bolder Way Forward. You're a single mom, you're juggling kids, a busy work schedule, you've got clients, and you are still willing to step into this initiative. What does it mean to you personally?
Well, I have a 13-year-old daughter. And, maybe 5 years ago, it wasn't on my radar as much as it is now. But I watch all my friends I've got this little gaggle of teenage girls in my circle. And I hope that the world will be better for them than it is for others. And I also hope that they're learning, what healthy relationships are. And as they enter the world of talking to boys and doing all of that, that they understand, someone being kind to them and someone not being kind to them and what that looks like and, who safe people are and what is inappropriate and what's appropriate. And and that's just on that front. I also want her to grow up and be able to get a good job and live here if she wants to live here. And, it's kind of like paving the way for our littles.
Yeah, the next generation. I was really blown away at the website and the amount of information. I remember that first meeting wondering, how are you going to tackle all of these social issues. The website, as I looked at the different things that A Bolder Way Forward is focusing on, it's everything from childcare resources to equal pay to how to handle workplace sexual harassment, mentoring opportunities, higher education benefits, and even a guide for women who want to run for political office. I mean, it is covering the gamut. And for the listeners, I want to make sure we let them know the website is Utah State, obviously with under Susan Atson, but www.usu.edu/UWLP. Yes. And it's such a great resource. So usu.edu, UWLP. Beyond the website, how else can we strengthen women through this movement?
I think the biggest thing is the awareness. Again, if you don't know that it's a problem, you're not going to be willing to step in. So for many years now, Utah has ranked 50th, last in the country in women's equality. Like, if that doesn't shock you, I don't know what will. Like, we are failing in every part of women, everything. And so it's really just, I think right now it's bringing the awareness. And our biggest focus right now is determining the greatest needs in Wasatch County, because there are so many areas and we can't tackle them all at once.
Right.
And our biggest goal is, truthfully, we have great resources here. It's just mapping those resources to make them available and make them known to people. Because I would say that, someone in a domestic violence doesn't know that the Peace House exists.
Correct.
Or that the Children's Justice Center exists. And even as far as healthcare for women, there are a lot of women out there without insurance that have health needs, but the health department has vouchers and things that we can do to help women get healthcare if we need. So it's just connecting those resources and making it very, very well known.
Well, and starting those conversations. A year ago, you kind of gathered around, you called it a think tank. Mm-hmm. Heber Valley Hospital opened their doors and said, hey, we've got space, come on in. One of the paragraphs that stood out with the final, the What Can I Do pamphlet, I guess it's What Can I Do guide, that stood out to me was, in the business sector, Wasatch County women struggle with limited opportunities for internal advancement and leadership, as well as with conscious and unconscious bias. Mm-hmm. And okay, we call it the good old boys. We do. Let's call a spade a spade. And I think that just comes from being an agriculture community where it was heavily on farming and agriculture and ranching. But as the communities evolved, and I would say over the last 20 years, we have definitely seen this change. Obviously, women tend to gravitate toward jobs like teachers and nurses. The healthcare industry and the education is a safe place and also works well with kids' schedules. But what I found most powerful about some of the things that came out of your think tank were, by motivating male allies to support women in politics, business, and leadership roles, we become stronger. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that think tank and some of your experiences there.
So that was the coolest experience, because it was, I believe there was 42 of us, and what an honor to be one of the 42 women in this alley that was selected to be at that table.
Yeah.
And when I've seen Susan Madsen talk numerous times in bigger venues, I know we had her to our chamber a couple of times. She's brilliant, but this is her passion. You can feel it when she talks. But to definitely get her on a more intimate level that day and really be able to utilize her to talk about our specific needs here in Heber versus just on the larger scale was very, very cool. You get a lot of good ideas that come out of that.
Is some of the concerns that she maybe voiced cultural? I know we have a lot of English is their second language. I noticed that with a lot of the police reports, and I appreciate that Heber City Police have really focused on hiring bilingual officers, because they can often come in and de-escalate a situation just by providing some safety, security, and some protection. But also, hey, let's calm down. Let's work through this. How do we address that kind of cultural issue that we're seeing as our community gets more migration of the workforce?
I think, again, awareness. I think we need to educate. And that's a hard thing. the one thing we would really, really love to do is get into the schools. Then that becomes tricky with, having conversations with students and permissions and things like that. But if, I think the earlier we can get in front of girls, children to, let them know that there are resources for them, maybe resources for their parents. I often know, sometimes those kids are big advocates for their parents in that situation. So it's educating, which is we've got to bridge that gap there.
Yeah. The guy also said this: when we listen and respond to concerns regarding the needs of girls and women in Wasatch County, we become better able to change harmful or ineffective policies, support effective leaders, and identify local problems and create responsive community initiatives. So let's talk about some of those community initiatives. What would you love to see the community rally around with all the way forward?
I think the one thing, and as a leadership group, we've definitely identified what we think are, the top 3 to 5 biggest issues. Our annual survey just wrapped up. And so we're waiting to hear what that is, because that survey was really to survey people on what their perception of those were. So I will be very curious to see if the perception is very different than what we actually believe the need is. And we have some of the data already. So at the ladies' night out at the hospital, I had an elderly lady say she'd do the survey, but she was not tech savvy. So she sat down with me and I went through some of the questions. I was just kind of helping her through it. And one of the questions was, and she was in a minority situation, and it was a question about the sexual abuse. And she said, I just don't think that happens. And I just thought, if she doesn't think that happens, there is a whole other world out there that just doesn't. And she was as genuine as they could be. Like, she really just, in her bubble, it was safe.
Yeah.
And I think it's just educating, getting the word out, and having those safe places for anyone to reach out, report, talk about it, learn.
Yeah. And I think you're right, though. It starts with us as women being mentors and examples for the next generation. We both have daughters. Those are hard conversations.
They are hard conversations.
And yet they are so important that they happen at home. And this program really is all about empowering women to make those conversations happen. I want to highlight some positives. So, we have, I would say, a very healthy support among women in business. And I want to give a shout out to some women that have really stepped up. I think of Erica Stover with Quinchit. I think of Nicole Ferguson with Mountain Rate Lines. There's been this kind of movement happening in Park City, and some love it and some don't. But I want to shout out to Jennifer Magnum Whaley with Bruce and Creelos. But then all of a sudden we have Hannah Nealman, we have Sarah Clark, Galleria Farms, Daisy Pear. We have this, they call it the influencer effect. But I want to give a shout out to those young ladies that took a chance. Some of them are single. Some have spouses that are supporting them quietly behind. But these women have truly stepped into roles of entrepreneur, and they've rallied around each other. And I think that's why there's a little bit of I don't know if it's jealousy sometimes that women get when they see other women succeed. Right now, I know Ballerina Farms is causing some parking issues within Midway. But I went over last week just to see what was the vibe. And I have to say, it's so fun to see these 20 and 30-year-olds gathering for lunch, their littles around them, buying sourdough starter, wanting to be better at home. And I think it's because of the example of someone like Hannah Nealman. I listened to her talk on social media last night, just very vulnerable, very truthful, that her and her husband didn't receive family money, that what they've built in 8 years is through hard work. And so often, especially on social media, we tear each other down. And we shouldn't be that way.
No. I would say competition happens at the bottom and collaboration happens at the top. Yeah. So there's no two businesses, even if you're the same, you're not the same. You're not the same. I mean, and my greatest example is in real estate. We all collab. Our our little local realtor community, we all work at different places. We're all going for the same listings. We were actually all together one time. Two people announced they maybe had the same listing coming in. It was the same listing. They were both in competition. And it was a laughing matter. And because we all collaborate, we help each other out. It's not a competition. You're your own competition.
Right. And I hope that this movement truly does that. If it does nothing else, it teaches women to come together, to collaborate, to lift each other up, to help each other, to show up for each other.
I think we all know this. Women are the glue to everything. The family, the home, communities, church communities. Why are we not just taking that outside of that? Women make a lot of things happen.
Yeah. I love this quote by Melinda Gates. She said, if you want to lift humanity, empower women. It is the most comprehensive, pervasive, and high leverage investment you can make in human beings.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, and yet women struggle to find that place. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how a bolder way forward, as you're gathering that information, what is the next step for 2026? What do you see as opportunities? What are you hoping that women will do? How can women get involved?
We would love to have more people. And we try not to meet very often. I mean, we're all busy. We understand that. We're trying right now to maybe do a quarterly meeting. And so come to our meetings if you're interested. You can reach out via the website. I will give you my personal information. Come to a meeting. If you can only come to one meeting, great. You don't have to come to every meeting. You don't have to commit to anything. If there's something that you feel called to that feels passionate to you, let's plug you in where it fits. We want everybody to get involved in whatever capacity they can. It's not about everybody doing everything. It's about everybody doing something.
I love that. So this movement really is not about lifting girls and girls and women at the expense of boys, not at all. And I think that's an important distinction, that it's not a scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. It really is the abundance, that if there's enough to go around, as you said, always enough to go around. There's enough opportunities, but we want to create safety and hope for everyone.
Yeah, and we need men to do that. We need their support. We need their influence to maybe change some of the things that have held us back. They've got the influence.
Yeah. What's your call to action? As we talk about a bolder way forward, I hope that people will go to the website. Again, the resources on that website were really phenomenal, whether it's how to start a business, understanding taxes, understanding childcare. I thought it was really interesting just to read a couple things on sexual harassment in the workplace, understanding what's okay and what's not, and when to report and when to talk to co-workers and be very blunt. I think sometimes we just have to stand our ground.
Yeah. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah. So the website, but what's your call to action?
I would encourage everybody to go to the website and look at it. There is so much data there, but that data is very staggering. It got you.
Yeah.
And if you don't, when we tell people, you can see the reaction on their faces, and then you're like, oh, you had no idea. So go to the website, look at it, look at some of the stats, and then come get involved wherever you can. Even if it's one thing, even if it's one event, show up and help out at one event. We want to be everywhere. We want to show up everywhere and just talk about this.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been as quick to react yesterday when my neighbor just casually mentioned, oh, I saw something. And I think because of this conversation and preparing and understanding what resources are. But what I realized is we do have to show up. We have to knock on the door. We have to pull over when we see something. I had an experience a couple of years ago where I saw a woman walking on Highway 40 in an area that you shouldn't be walking. It's not pedestrian friendly. And I pulled over and I got out of my car and I said, are you okay? And she wasn't. She had a fight with her boyfriend and had gotten out of the car and was just trying to find somewhere. And so I brought her into town. I explained there's resources. She just needed to cool things down. But I thought, what would have happened if I hadn't stopped? Right? And I don't know if she went back to him. It's not my role, but it was uncomfortable to pull over and say, "You're in flip-flops on Highway 40. Can I take you somewhere?" We have to see what's happening around us.
Yeah, I think we need to be paying attention because there's a lot more of it that you are not aware of. I just, in the last couple of years, have been, become aware of situations in my own circle that I did not know existed. And so it's happening, even if you don't think it is, even if someone paints a pretty picture. So knock on the door, because you may be that one resource that they didn't know they had. You might be that one person that saves them.
Yeah. But again, this is all about elevating, bringing women together. And that's why, again, I want to shout out to those women in business that have taken those difficult steps, and sometimes scary, to start a business, to network, to reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, let's do this. Let's do it together," which is what I love about this movement. It really is supporting women where they are and helping us be more aware of what needs to happen next.
Yes.
So I appreciate your leadership in this program. I hope that this is a kickstart for a lot of people that listen to this, that now's your time.
Yeah.
Whether you have littles at home or whether you're an empty nester, there's always an opportunity to give back wherever you find that you can give.
Yeah, I think it's important to give where you authentically feel good giving, because then it's easy.
Reggan, this has been such an important conversation. Again, I would just encourage people, go to the website, just Google A Bolder Way Forward. Susan Madsen, if you're wanting to really dig in, she's been doing research since 2011. And again, I was saddened and shocked to see that Utah is at the bottom. We can do that.
We can do way better. We have such amazing, capable women here who can do better.
We're going to. Thanks so much for joining me. And I just thank the listeners. We appreciate Gordon Law Group, Heber Valley Life Magazine. We wouldn't be here having these conversations if it weren't for people like Reggan that are really working to improve this community. I'm Rachel Kahler with the Community Alliance for Main Street. Thank you, Reggan Jastram, for being here. And we'll see you next time at Heber Valley Life Magazine.